to show. Get out of your head, make a better life instead. You gotta give it all your best. So put your hands up to the sky and live your best life, alright. Don't just let it go by, just try, oh my. Got only one life, got only this time. We gonna get it right. You gotta let go of those who don't belong in your tribe. So cut the bad out of your life. Yeah, do it one time. You gotta work till you're winning. Yeah, take control of the system when you invest.
Hello Internet, this is Marko Yamashita. I apologize for the extremely scuffed stream that I am doing right now. Basically, I just got home and I see that I've missed a little bit of the action that has already taken place in pre-market. But what you see on the screen here is essentially what both CoverCore and AnyColor are currently doing in the stock market. Looks like there was some extreme selling at open, and CoverCore actually climbed up to approximately 28-23, and it's now tapering off. Whereas if you are looking at AnyColor, we see the second line here that it's called the BBP, and it's basically the bear bull indicator here, and there has been a lot of bearish action on AnyColor's stock price right now. And it's kind of weird in a way, because we when we go over and look at the Nikkei right now, it's struggling to stay above the zero line, but it's been fairly consistent since the market open. I am anticipating that the market will have a reversal in the PM, if we don't already start seeing it with what we're seeing here on the screen. What we see here, like on AnyColor's stock at the moment, you notice on the bottom indicator here, it says that it's aptly called the awesome oscillator. We see that there's a bunch of red bars here, followed by a bunch of green bars here, and that's typically a sign of a bull run pushing up the downward pressure of selling. But we are not necessarily seeing that tracking here on the chart. And like I said, the bear bull indicator here has been showing pure bear on their stock, and they were up to over 3,000 yen per share, and right now they are struggling just to get back up there. So yeah, it's extremely volatile right now. And again, when we come over here and look at the Nikkei itself has been doing fairly well. It did show it did show a bunch of volatility here at the beginning, but then it just made a complete drive upward. And part of this drive that we had here on the Nikkei is due to some of the indicators that we have seen. Let me pull it up here. So basically, this is the this is the Nikki website itself, and this is a news article that came out. They have a translation button on their website, so that's why we have the side by side. But they have basically confirmed that there was going to be a bunch of volatility here at the beginning of the trading session, and that the I always forget if they're called a minister, or basically the guy in charge of the Bank of Japan will be making their formal announcement here at noon Japan time. However, it's been all but confirmed until he actually states, hey, yeah, this is actually happening, that interest rates are going to rise in Japan here, which strengthens the yen, yet it weakens the dollar. So you do get that kind of discrepancy there. The other thing is that since you have a strengthening dollar, or a strengthened yen, that basically means that stocks start becoming overpriced, and that's why you see such a heavy sell-off, because you want to try to get as much yen as possible before that valuation comes along and makes your holdings smaller, despite the fact that the yen is gaining strength. So it's been pretty much a very choppy, volatile morning ever since the market opened, and we'll go back to the market here. Let's come back here to the market, and we'll come back and look at both Cover Core and AnyColor side by side. Now, something that a lot of people didn't realize, and if you watch the charts enough times, you start seeing that there is usually a correlation, since they are both VTuber companies within the same market, and their market is extremely they call it an open moat because there aren't any other public companies that are currently doing what they're doing. They tend to stick together pattern wise within the in their trading, even though one might be higher than the other. But there has been a significant shift in that correlation, where they no longer correlate with each other, where if one falls, the other one falls. Now what we're seeing now is a large scale event that is making them behave a certain way. But as you can see here from the price channels, there has been a definite difference in recent weeks and months, where the prices are starting to diverge instead of sticking with each other, which is very fascinating, and it's also good for competition wise, because as we can see right now, the trading prices here are at see 27.97, and then we have 29.91. So there is definitely some huge competition there between the two stocks. Now I also want to mention, and let me get it pulled up here for you. Okay. And we're going to switch windows here real quick, and I apologize. Whoops. The other one is locked. That one isn't. Okay. All right. So what we're looking at here is we're looking at investor.com. And this is the financial markets, looking at it in its totality for the Japanese markets. And contrary to what happened last year, the market is at least opening higher we're seeing that the Japanese to yen ratio is stable at the moment, along with the euro, which are all positive signs compared to the event that happened last year. Now, last year they decided to raise interest rates, and it took everyone by surprise. They were already in a recessionary scenario where their economy had shrunk. For the last, I think, 3 quarters. It's either 3 months or 3 quarters. I don't remember which one it is. So there were a lot of things going against it. Then they decided to raise the interest rates because the yen was becoming so undervalued to the dollar that they needed to intervene. And that sent the entire market into a spiral. And what we are seeing here essentially is, as it's being reported, that there's a huge amount of volatility here, and that the Bank of Japan could have holded their interest rate hike, but with what we have here on the economic calendar, here we had two key indicators here that basically would be kind of like the trigger, depending on what the result was. Now, the top one here is National Core Consumer Price Index. Year on year, they forecasted 3%. That's what actually came in, and that's higher than the last report that they had. So that was one of the first things. If this number was below the forecast or below the previous number here, that could have given them an out to say, hey, we're going to hold off on this. But the other one here, the National Consumer Price Index, came up as a 0.6 compared to the previous month of 0.4. And when you look at when you look at the description of what this is, you can see in the description that the impact on the currency may go both ways. A rise in CPI may lead to higher interest rates, and a rise in local currency, which is what they were going to be announcing today. Whereas if there was a recessionary indicator with this number, it would have ended up being lower. And we haven't had any recessionary indications of. I'm sorry. Yeah, I said that backwards. If it came in, if it rises and the CPI, I need to learn how to read. Okay, so the impact of the currency may go both ways. A rise in CPI may lead to a rise in interest rates and rise in local currency. On the other hand, during a recession, a rise in CPI may lead to a deepened recession, which we've been able to confirm that their GDP hasn't been shrinking for the last 3 quarters, which is a good thing. It's always a good thing to have that happen. Now, if we go back here, actually, let's switch back to what the charts are doing here. So what we see right now is it's a good indication that they haven't dropped off a cliff, and in fact we can see that they're above the zero line now. There's a lot of activity that's happening. I'm sure that there's a lot of short traders out there that are trying to make as much money as they can before the interest rate is announced, which is typically usual, especially for Cover Corporation because of their upcoming quarterly revenue report. So let's see, it switches back to regular. And what we're seeing here on the awesome oscillator here is actually quite fascinating, because we have a double hill here where it was coming in lower, and then there was a lot of buying, and then you have your second hill here, and as you can see, it's coming above the zero line now, and it's continuing to grow. So that this is usually an indication that there's been a reversal in what the buyers are doing. Now, if it's sustained, which who knows at this point, then we could see this go up. And as we see here with the current candle, it's actually pushing against the price line here, which is it's a positive sign. We haven't had the crash that we had last year. If we come back and we look at both charts here from last year, as you can see, this is January through the summer months, and as you can see, Cover Corporation had a steep drop off right when the recession was confirmed, and then they had more bad news with their earnings after their earnings, when they raised interest rates here in March, and that caused the other drop. And you can see the exact same actions that were happening here with AnyColor. Now, again, one of the main components of why it hasn't happened yet. Oh, that spiked up. One of the main things that's different from last year is their GDP has been higher, and they have confirmed that their economy is growing slowly, if not at snail's pace. But they have also confirmed that employee wages have actually gone up here and the last month. So that's also a positive sign for them to say that the economy is growing stronger, whereas last year everything was basically hitting the fan and going every which way. But while I have you guys here, I do want to actually show you guys something else, which you guys might find interesting here. And I'll switch from my Reddit list to so we're gonna look at Cover Corporation here. Just for a bit, we're gonna focus on Cover Corporation, and we're gonna focus on them because their quarterly reports coming up, right? So with American data or trading sites, some of them are better than others of transferring the data into their system. But like if we go here to the cash flow, I mean, we can't pull anything up on quarterly cash flow, but we can find their annual. Who knows why? I think I think in Japan you are not required to do a quarterly report, but I don't know for sure with that. But what we're going to do here is we're going to come over and we are going to look at, first we're going to go by forecast. Now the blue line is, of course, where Cover Corporation is right now. Now, according to TradingView, of the 4 analysts that they get data from and opinions on it, they're all saying that the average growth for Cover Corporation over the next 12-month period is 26% to get up to 35.50. Now, there was a point where I thought, that's way too ambitious, but we have seen Cover Corporation actually touch 3,000 yen before backing down to 2,800. So I do believe it's possible if they have solid financials for the next couple quarters. There has always been a boost. Almost always been a boost to them if they've had positive reports. But there's also the fact that you can have a positive report where you're not reporting losses, but the amount that comes in is much lower than what analysts had hoped it to be. And then you kind of get a muted response from the market because of that. I don't think that Cover Corporation is going to necessarily do that, but I have some major concerns when it comes to Cover Corporation, especially when you look at the fact that they are going through money like crazy. Let me pull it back up here. If we look at their annual cash flow here, especially for the past annual year, there has been a significant amount of cash that has been going through within their cash flow. Now they still have a positive balance here for their cash flow, but a large majority of what they've been spending on is that first they spent on getting a plant and warehouse so they can move a lot of that merchandise ordering part of the equation in-house, and they could hire people to actually do it instead of waiting for a third party. But the other thing that they have been spending on, and they have been spending billions of yen, is for non-tangible assets that are related to Hollow Earth, and then now also with the Unreal Engine and the concert spectacle that they're trying to do. So they have definitely been burning through cash, but again, they are still well above the positive for cash flow. Now, if we come over to the balance sheet here, and we can do quarter here. So when we look at the balance sheet here, and we see that the total assets and liabilities, that this is exactly what I'm talking about. With total assets, they have spent money, but then you also have the value and the appreciation of what they're using that money for, or in this case, they're developing, an IP essentially that can be branded and then sold off if they have to. So that's a positive thing to see here. When we look at current liabilities, though, the current liabilities has gone up by 5 billion over the last year, and liabilities can be considered part of the equation here, but you really don't want this to climb as high as it's been climbing, because when you subtract one from the other, you get total equity is 13 billion yen, which is higher than the month before, and year on year it is definitely higher. However, what bothers me the most about this is that they have essentially spent 4 billion yen on whatever they're thinking that they're developing for Hollow Earth, and we still haven't we've seen basically slices of it, vertical slices of what they're trying to develop, but this thing is supposed to be released by the end of March, because the end of March is the end of their fiscal year, and we haven't seen much of anything that is in a stable type of condition for them to actually say, hey, this is where all the money's gone to, that kind of thing. If we also look down here, the other thing that is concerning is that they have they've been accumulating debt and over the past year, which is something that you really don't want to see too much if they're spending that much money, because when you look at it, they can pay their debt off with what they have with their equity, but you don't want to see this number ballooning too far, especially when they're operating on such a thin margin here, and they only have $2 billion on hand for cash. If they had to pay back their debtor, and it's more than 2 billion yen, they would have to liquidize their some of their assets, and you don't really want that to happen. So let's also go to we'll go to the forecast here. So I saw a comment by the person called VTuber Sensei, and they were talking about whether or not the trouble that they thought that AnyColor had was something deeper than what it was. All right, now of course we're looking at Cover Corporation right now, and you can see the seasonal trend from last year. And what we see here is we see that they started off strong, right? And then once we got into February, when the Bank of Japan had announced or confirmed that the country was in a recession, that was the start of the fall. And then once they got to March, and at this point right here, in March, they announced that they were going to raise interest rates, and then that sent Cover Corporation plummeting again, where they lost close to 45% of their total value. And the main saving grace that they had was their Q1 report here in May. Now, an interesting thing to note here with Cover Corporation is that they went through a double dip, and that's a definitely a worrying sign, because the double dip happened right in the middle of their Q1 that got announced, and that kind of sets a precedent of what people were expecting of Cover Corporation, and the fact that they had reported a lot less than what they had expected. But the good news is that, at least for right now, there is a pattern that's developing here. But at least for the moment, they have not dropped off. Now we still have, I think, somewhere about yeah, we still have 2 hours and 15 minutes before the Bank of Japan confirms that the rate hike will take in effect. And what we're actually seeing here right now is actually kind of a good thing, because if you're an investor like me, and you are anticipating that there's going to be a significant drop in the equity price of the company, but there's a time limit where you can allow things kind of to build up till the point you pull the sale trigger. Seeing a rise like this is actually extremely welcome news. In fact, you can see that with AnyColor here, they actually gapped up higher with the purchase value of whoever bought this much in stocks. Now we do see that with Cover Corporation, when we look at their oscillator here down here, when you see a green hill form, and then it's followed by a red hill going down, and you have two hills like that, that typically means that there's a reversal happening, and that's what we're seeing right here. It's not a significant reversal, but right now is basically what they would refer to as choppy. But at least for the moment, and again, I need to preface that at least for the moment, it looks like both companies are trading significantly higher, and that the Nikkei has not yet turned on the Japanese market, where people are selling off. Now, one final thing I do want to bring to everyone's attention with stock trading in Japan, there is a mandated lunch break where that there's no action. They take an hour for lunch. Everyone goes to lunch, and then comes back, and then they restart the trading on the market. So yeah, that typically comes up at noon, which is at the same time that the minister of the Bank of Japan is going to be making his formal announcement of the decision that was made. So, it's kind of like, hey, everyone go to lunch, we're going to go to break. Oh, by the way, we're doing this. Okay, great, now go eat. That's basically how it comes down. But, they typically do, a speech with an explanation of why they've made that decision. They go through some of the numbers, some of the metrics, like we've already talked about, with the consumer price index being in favor for them to raise interest rates. The country has had, it hasn't been great, but they have seen signs of their GDP rising. With the reports here that came out recently. Let me see if I can get back to that chart. No, that's not you. That's not you either. Okay, well, where did it go? News, ideas, nope. I don't know where it went. Let's see here. Nikkei. Okay. There it is. Okay. So as we can see here from the trade market, I guess they're flash points, or whatever you would call this. Basically, they've confirmed that the core inflation accelerated in December 24, underscoring recent inflationary pressures amid a weaker yen, which what we've been seeing with the yen, the amount of the yen climbing up to over 160 per US dollar. And Japan has kind of like a an unspoken line where if that happens, they start looking at raising interest rates. But it's been surpassed, which is why we are where we are right now. But with the CPI here going up, the reading surpassed the Bank of Japan's target, which would give them more reason to raise the interest rates. And it's interesting that rent prices, on the other hand, have steadily grown 0.3% since June 2024. Um, I believe that the CPI, and I'm not sure if it's this report here or if it's another separate report. But there is a report that is done specifically in Tokyo, and then that's supposed to kind of represent how the rest of the country is going. But of course, everything's more expensive in Tokyo, so it is what it is. Um, the other thing here, the gains came despite the expected interest rate hike by the Bank of Japan later in the day. Let's see here. Blah blah blah. Yeah, so they're basically kind of just speculating on what they believe the Bank of Japan will do. Um, and I think, yeah, there is also this one here where CPI of services minus owners, um, basically that the rent increased, um, goods minus fresh food increased, all these other things. But they showed wages lagged behind, but they are still climbing at the projected level that the Bank of Japan had hoped that they would see. So everything so far, and again, you got to preface it. So far, is looking positive, but if we're looking at the Nikki here, you don't want to see multiple hills like this, and that's how they kind of describe it when looking at the explanation. Because when you start getting multiple hills like this, that it basically means that it tends to be a downward trend, that there's going to be a heavy reversal coming, and seeing that many hills like this, and everything's still staying positive, it's a worrisome sign that that there is going to be a correction in the near future. Typically, that statistically it always happens when you get that many type of hills that have a back end that are negative like that, that you will get a heavy correction. So everyone's just kind of waiting for that. But the good thing is that the relative strength index, so far, we aren't in overbought territory for the Nikkei, which is a good sign. Both lines are trending upward, which is also a good sign. The Bollinger Band, I always use the index here instead of having the actual bands up here, because I like using the price channels here instead. It's climbing. It hasn't hit overbought territory yet either, so that's a good sign for the market. Despite that, it's not climbing, astronomically, but we're actually getting close to 1% here on the plus side, with the Japanese market knowing that an interest rate is likely going to be announced later on here, closer to noon. And as we see here, we actually we've actually seen some pretty good climbing here with AnyColor, and Cover Corporation, in spite of the upcoming announcement that's going to be happening. And the interesting thing about this is that AnyColor and Cover Corporation are both cyclical stocks, which, as I was about to show you here with, let's see, let's look at AnyColor here. 5-0. Now, people, there's one thing I do want to say before we look at the rest of this. A lot of people point to the 2022 and 2023, and they say, AnyColor hasn't been the best ever since these 2 years, and a lot of it is hype. That's why you had so many. So many gains that they've had in 2022, because they were the new kid on the block. They had the shiniest thing, and people can come over and play or pay for it and be a part of it. 2023 is actually probably a more realistic part where you can start making comparisons to, because it eventually hit into a more normal pattern that you would see. Now, with 2024, and I want to show you this because this is the other thing that really worries me about what's going to happen today, is when you look at 2024, Umberto, welcome. How am I? I'm doing better. I'm still not 100%, but I am doing better. So it's good to see you, my friend. Welcome. Now, going back to the chart here, if you notice that the beginning of 2025 is looking fairly close to how it looked in 2024, and that worries me. That really worries me, because we know that there is going to be a government monetary intervention here later on today, and again, despite the fact that Japan is not in a recession this year, despite that fact, we do still have the other indicators on AnyColor's chart here, where this is when they announced that data confirmed they were in a recession. This point here was when they announced that interest rates were going to increase. And so if you talk to a lot of other people, they say Doki Bird created this. But no, Doki Bird did not cause this drop. It was because of the interest rate increase. And they really struggled here throughout the spring year, or the spring season, because the interest rates were raised, the yen continued to depreciate. Their economy was still contracting, and it didn't start getting better until about May to June. So, but the fact that you start having a similar pattern here developing, at least in my opinion, it's worrisome. And I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm not saying this as financial advice, but to me, when you start tracking things that you invest in, and you start seeing patterns form, it starts making you wonder, okay, is this going to happen again? The good news is, at least for 2025, we're up here at 12.88% above the zero line, as opposed to where they ended up at the end of last year, at which a minus 13.62, which is a significant difference for that, and they have continued to progress fairly well. Now that there is, of course, a dip here that has happened since the market opened, but it's not a heavy it's not a heavy dip like it was the last couple times, because when you start scrolling back here towards let's see here, if you start coming back here about 6 months ago, in fact here my line is still here. This was the bottom when they bottomed out from the last rate hike, and this is where the market opened. So if you bought the dip all the way back here, you would have a net gain of 62.87 percent. And mind you that when you buy stocks in Japan, you have to buy 100 stocks at a time, because they make you buy what they call a unit. So you have to buy 100 stocks in one unit at a time. You can't buy them individually. You have to. It's either you buy 100 or you don't buy at all. So you take this number here and you add a couple zeros to it. You're talking about a good chunk of change, that you would have if you had bought the dip all the way back here in August. So, people keep trashing AnyColor, saying, hey, they're not doing well, that they're gonna be, everything spells doom for AnyColor and everything else like that. And the truth of the matter is, it really isn't. I mean, you don't get this kind of performance from an IPO, and expect to see this kind of turnaround that they've had in the 5 or 6 years, or whenever they actually went public, and everything else like that. You just don't see it. They've even mentioned on the Nike website that out of all the IPOs that were announced and went public the same year as AnyColor, none of them have gotten over a billion yen in net revenue. And AnyColor is the only company that actually succeeded to break that cap within the first, I believe, the first year of their existence, which is very, it's very bad, because new companies are starting up, but they have trouble either meeting the needs of their market, or they're opening up in an oversaturated market, whereas AnyColor, they have taken a different route with all this. So at least for the moment here, it does look like they're trading sideways, which essentially means that they have calmed down from the initial volatility that we've seen earlier, which is always kind of like a good thing, because if you're trading sideways, you're not losing money. So and we can actually see that the small run that they had here, you start getting the red declines in the hills, which basically means that the sell pressure is starting to creep back in, but they haven't completely taken over yet. And the RSI is still pointing up, and it's it's above the oversold line, so that's also encouraging there. Now let's look back here at Cover Corporation. Cover Corporation, they keep on winning, and I absolutely enjoy it as an investor, because they're making me money, but they have continued to climb upward, regardless of what's been happening, which shows a lot of resilience. It also shows that Yago is definitely a good salesperson. He's always going out and touting the different things that they are working on. What they hope to achieve with the projects that they're doing. He is putting forth a lot of good karma and a good sales pitch, which has been paying dividends. Now there is there is one thing I do want to talk about that it's related to both companies financially, but it is slightly political. So, but I'm going to try to avoid taking sides with all the stuff here. But as a lot of you guys know, we have a new president here in the United States, right? And he has gone on record saying that he was going to slap on tariffs on everything in the Asian market. If you're coming from the Asian area, we're going to slap tariffs on you. If you're coming from here, we're going to slap tariffs on you. So on and so forth. And I've read some articles that have said that the Ministry of Finance has been in continuous talks with people in the Trump administration about these tariffs. They have not announced any confirmed type of deal with the United States in order to sidestep the tariffs that he's talking about. Basically, all they've been saying so far is that the talks are positive, which can mean they're just trying to be courteous, but the reason why I bring it up is kind of twofold, all right? Because when you have, let me turn back on the music here. We need to have some. We definitely need to have some music here. All right. So the reason why I bring it up is twofold. Because first off, everything that VTubers have been selling, whether they are part of an agency or otherwise, has always been going through the Japanese market, and then it has to be shipped over to the United States, and so you end up waiting like 6 months for the thing that you bought, right? Excuse me. The thing of it is if Trump goes through and is able to put these tariffs on Japan, that's going to directly affect us as consumers for any of the VTuber merchandise that they're trying to sell. All right, because you're first off, you're buying something that wasn't made in the United States, so that they're going to hit you for that. Second, every single shipping service that I've checked since I started looking earlier today, at UPS, FedEx, the ECS, whatever that other thing is that comes from Japan. All of them state that if tariffs are imposed towards the areas that they are shipping from, that then they are included in the cost of shipping. So, shipping from Japan is already expensive to begin with, right? I mean, hell, I bought a $30 item from a VTuber friend, and just to get it shipped over to me was an additional $24. So I basically paid for a coffee mug that was, you know, uh, close to it's a $50 coffee mug. You know what I'm saying? So, the shipping charges are outrageous, right? But what I was thinking was that with Cover Corporation opening up an office in the United States, and what they're trying to accomplish with opening up an office over here, that could give them the advantage, at least on the English speaking side of things, because if they're able to make deals with companies here in the United States and contract out to them to have them made here, that could be something viable that would allow Cover Corporation to sidestep any tariffs for goods that they can make here in the United States. Now, on the flip side of things, a lot of people have criticized and even mocked AnyColor about their what they want to do as a company here for for this fiscal year, which is focused on the Japanese marketplace, right? And if you've watched one of my other videos, you know that over 90% of sales through commerce and everything else were all people from Japan. Now, you put two and two together here, right? And essentially, if they're by and large servicing the Japanese community of people who enjoy VTubers, they are not going to get hit by all these tariffs and all these other things that you might have to work with or around if you're in Cover Corporation. So in that aspect, there's actually some very promising and good forward looking with what they decided to work on, because you don't spend, and I try to explain this to a lot of people, right? You don't spend more money on a branch that is making you less money and just hoping that throwing money at it will eventually solve the problem. Yeah, you have to rework it from the ground up. So of course, with Cover Corporation, they have a functioning unit within their JP branch that isn't in the middle of a crisis. So naturally, you're going to throw your resources behind that, because you got to keep the company going, right? And they're basically lock and step with Cover Corporation's JP branch for the same amount of hours and views and everything else. So the company is definitely not struggling. And what we always end up seeing is English speaking people using a blanket statement that Nijisanji is failing. But then when you look and read or see their material and their proof, they're only looking at the English branch. And you're not gonna see significant gains from the English branch, just because all the troubles behind them, and people are looking at it and saying, well, look, their viewership is down, their membership is down, their the amount of revenue they're bringing in is down. It's like, well, duh, hello, you've lost two of your more favorite VTubers. That it was kind of like when they fired Rushia from Cover Corporation. I mean, she was bringing in well over $1 million a year just on super chats. So, yeah, you're gonna yeah, take a hit on those things, right? But what frustrates me the most is that as you can see here, on the charts, I mean you have Cover Corporation, here at, ooh, they're really fighting to get that number up there. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. Regular. So, I mean, you have Cover Corporation here at 28, 10 per yen per share, and then you come over here, you have 3,020 yen a share for AnyColor. I mean, you're not gonna see a failing company giving competition to a supposed superior company on the stock market like this. Now look at this. Look at this. How it's skyrocketing. This is something that I've just been amazed with Cover Corporation, especially with their stock movements. Because you constantly see these breakouts that happen with Cover Corporation, and a lot of it is what short sellers and them doing the squeeze and everything else like that. But the other thing is that people are actually buying into what the Cover Corporation is promising them, which is a good thing for them, because if you're able to get more investors, you bring in more capital. When you have more capital, you're able to hire and develop and refine what you have. So it's something, it's not a bad thing. And the important part here, and this is something else I've always tried to explain to the people, is Cover Corporation was always lower than AnyColor, right? So AnyColor just kind of went it about its way, and you had, for the most part, you had Cover Corporation and AnyColor. Basically, there was neither one of them were closing the gap. Cover couldn't get high enough, and AnyColor just did not drop low enough. But now, in 2024 to 2025, now we have competition between both of these companies. You have two drastically different business models that are being implemented here, and we're seeing, but by and large, that while they both work, AnyColor, focusing primarily on the Japanese region, is still outperforming AnyColor or Cover Corporation by but double the net revenue that they bring in. But yet you still have the market support for Cover Corporation, and what they're presenting to their shareholders and investors. So you're going to see these positive gains that come in, that that are basically, they very well could hit their target number here. And we'll go back over here real quick. Right now they are forecast to, and this is a 12-month forecast based upon current data, that they're anticipating them to hit 35.50. Now, every single time that they've had a positive report, other than August, we have seen at least a 10 to 15% increase in their stock price. With Q3 coming up here, they're definitely, as long as it's not a bad report, they could definitely close the gap there, bring it within 10% of what people are forecasting. And assuming everything goes right with like their Unreal live concert presentation that's supposed to happen, I don't know, in the next few months, and they're able to showcase that along with their usual festival type of event, we should hopefully see them hit 3550 here by the end of their Q4. And that's me speculating on it. Again, I am not a financial expert or analyst that is giving you advice, but there's definitely an upside that has continued to persist with Cover Corporation, and the amazing thing is that people are finally starting to realize that Cover Corporation has been historically completely undervalued by the market until just recently. And part of that reason is because their economy is improving, and so the investors are starting to look elsewhere beyond what they would consider recession-proof stocks or ETFs or funds like that, where there's a low risk of volatility. Now that is something that Cover Corporation definitely has a problem with. I'm going to open this up here real quick. So if you look at Cover Corporation's beta is higher than AnyColor's. Beta basically is what they use to measure volatility. AnyColor is typically more stoic with their price jumps, and they're majorly defined by either economic activity or their physical reports. Whereas Cover Corporation, we've seen them jump all over the place, and what I find interesting about them is that it's kind of like the slightest wind that breeze that comes by, there's always a reaction within their price. So that's why you have Cover Corporation rating higher on the risk scale, because of they're more prone to react to a market fluctuation. Now, when you're looking at performance here, though, I mean, AnyColor is still relatively, looking at outperforming them. Now, once we got past to Q2 and you had that upward revision for Cover Corporation, there was a definite jump within their performance. However, I always try to preface it and remind people, just because they had this upward revision does not mean that they have made more money with that upward revision, because basically what you end up happening is that you end up having Cover Corporation say, hey, look, we made 10 billion yen in the last quarter, right? But they only pocketed I think it was like 1.4 billion yen out of that 10 billion revenue that they brought in. And it's like, what did you spend on in order to bring back that number, only to turn around and having to pay it back out because of what you did? You might as well just not have done it. So whereas AnyColor has been more consistent with what they bring in, what they use to pay for their VTubers, their process and their business functions and stuff like that. So you do look at those types of things when you're considering to companies like that. Now, like what we see here, we see here that both of them have brought in relatively the same amount of revenue. Their earnings per share, you can see that AnyColor is definitely twice as high, with earnings per share. And again, that goes back to the fact that what AnyColor brings in, they're putting value back into the shareholders' pocket by saying, this is how much the money that you don't or the money you've invested, we're earning back because of your investment. Whereas you see with Cover Corporation, they have been heavily reinvesting and putting the money that they have coming in into multiple projects, and that kind of scares me because you have this whole ecosystem that you're trying to build as a persistent online adventure. And then you're also having another team that is specifically building a Unity asset-filled virtual concert type of thing. And there's just so many different projects that are going on. That money is not generating earnings that can be brought back to the investor and say, hey, look at how much we earned with what you invested with us. Whereas AnyColor is more of a better sell if you're considering a purchase utilizing EPS. Now, that's not the only metric that you should look at. And again, I'm not telling you who to buy or what to buy or anything else like that. But this is basically a fact that you have to consider with this. I mean, AnyColor is making more money with what's being invested. Do you want to have one half the return by investing in the other company, or do you want to put that money in here where you're going to get that return? The price to earnings ratio here, of course, Cover Corporation is heavily overpriced right now, and that's why you see this ratio so high. This is basically a metric that is used for people to understand, hey, people are willing to buy this expensive company, and we're willing to pay this much for purchasing 100 shares from that company. And if you compare that with like the volume of buys and sells for that day, you can kind of gauge, hey, people are really buying into this expensive company. Hey, let's put our money there instead. Whereas I can't talk. The price to earnings ratio for AnyColor is again, half of what Cover Corporation is. So when you're comparing companies and you see that, hey, look, each company is about the same as far as price, and but you're gonna get twice as much back with Cover Corporation or with AnyColor than Cover Corporation. And then you start looking at, hey, they're giving out dividends on a semi-annual basis with AnyColor, so you're going to get money back there. Cover Corporation doesn't do that. You start asking yourself all those questions, and then you start really processing. Okay, where do I want to put my money? Do I want to pay for more but get less, or I buy the cheaper one, which seems to be, returning more to the investor. I mean, that's kind of how it sits. Let's take a quick look here. So we have that double hill here again. The RSI is dropping way below the overbought line. And as we can see up here, yeah, this candle here is definitely pushing down, and the Bollinger Band percentage is also going down. Now it's going to get troubling if this if this candle or the candle after it, if it hits this this orange line here, that's the the average trading value of the stock here. So oh, there it goes. There it goes. Let's see if there's any upward push on it. No, it's pushing down. And as you can see here with the bull bear tracker here, it's confirming that there's this drop. Now, the wick here. Oh, it no. It's kind of hilarious to watch this little bar on your screen just like push up and down. It's like which way you gonna go, my man? But I don't know if did they do a temporary halt on AnyColor? What's the time? Oh, there we go. Yeah, what we see with AnyColor right now, I mean they're pushing down low. And they have basically hit the 3,000 yen line and it's pushing lower. So let's go back. Yeah, even the Nikkei is dropping, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they were preparing for the announcement here with the drop down. Let's look at the Tokyo exchange here. As the Tokyo exchange, I mean, they're still on the plus side, so it looks like they're kind of lagging behind the Nikkei. But yeah, it's definitely choppy here, and it's probably going to get even more choppy by the noon announcement. But at least for right now, it does look like things are relatively stable. But we are starting to see reversals in both companies here. They're both trending lower than the line here, and they are definitely pushing against the lower price line here. So this could be the start of both of them just taking the plunge. I mean, we're starting to see that confirmation of a reversal on this side. They're basically oof. Yeah, they're really pushing down on that. My goodness. Just a second. I'm checking my other. I'm just checking my other screen here. Yeah. See, I'm actually kind of fortunate because all I had to do with since I utilize this site a lot, I just buy their monthly subscription, and I'm fortunate with TradingView here. You can pay $1 more and get almost practically real time metrics from the Tokyo Stock Exchange. They charge for real time, and that's why when you look at when you look at like Yahoo JP or some of the other sites that they can be delayed up to 20 minutes, and but if you just pay the extra fee of $1 on TradingView, you basically get near time. It's delayed by up to a minute is what they claim. So but okay, well, I'm gonna cut the stream off short here, because basically we have to wait another hour to see whether or not they completely collapse and when the announcement's made, or whether or not they're going to continue to shrug it off, kind of like what they're doing right now. So I'm gonna cut the stream here, but I'll keep tabs on what's going on with both of these companies, and I'll put out a follow-up video after that with what's happened, an explanation, so on and so forth. But I really do appreciate everyone who has been coming in over the last month and a half. I've been learning how to use Adobe Premiere, because I never really used it a lot. Lightfellow, hey, how you doing? Welcome to the chat. Make sure if something significant happens before the video. Yeah. So what I'm planning on doing is, if something significant happens, I am gonna do a short and basically say, hey, look, this is what happened. This is why it's happened. So so on and so forth. And I'll get that put up, and then I'll do a more in-depth video talking about all the other stuff afterwards. But that's an excellent point. I appreciate you mentioning that, because I've been learning how to use a lot of the different tools. I just never had the time to do it with. And I've been doing it while recovering from carpal tunnel surgery. So it's actually been I've been able to at least keep myself busy doing that, but I'm kind of longing to want to do live streaming again, because when you get out of practice of live streaming, and then you start recording yourself and then having to edit your own talk, you start realize, hey, I'm not exactly doing as good as I was, before I had to take my little break there. But yeah, we'll definitely do a short after the announcement is made. Again, the announcement is going to happen somewhere around noon, according to some of the news outlets. So if it comes out about noon, then you're gonna have that hour wait for their lunch break time. So then trading is you'll pick back up after 1 o'clock p.m. Japan time. But we'll keep an eye on everything since I think we have about 90. We have about 68, and so yeah, just about an hour and 15 minutes or so from when the announcement should happen. So, but we'll do a short or at least a small follow up on it. Explain what happened. Explain this is what happened before and after. Definitely try to get as many screenshots with that as possible. One of the nice things with Trading View here is you're able to actually do a replay of say like you want to come all the way back here and then see the movement as things happen. You can track all the different stock movement prices along with all the additional metrics here, which is a nice thing to happen, because then you can basically do a replay of what when an event happens with the stock market or with a particular company. So that's a great idea. So yeah, I will definitely do that, and get that up right away. So yeah, it's actually really nice to at least get back on the air. I do have one small thing that I have not debuted yet, and that's a mascot character that a good friend drew for me. So once I get back to streaming on a more regular basis with my VTuber avatar, I will introduce my mascot character along with that. So I absolutely adore it. So I'm glad I had the artist I know draw it for me. So but yeah. All right, guys. Umberto, thank you so much for dropping in. Appreciate you. I'm always glad to see you, my friend. Lightfellow, thank you for dropping in. Lurkers, I know that I've seen a bunch of lurkers come in and out of the stream. I appreciate you guys as well. I always say, you're if you don't want to talk, that's fine. If you just want to listen, that's fine. It's your prerogative. Half the time, even when I'm not streaming, I'm talking to myself. So it's perfectly fine. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We will keep an eye on this and do a follow up as needed. Otherwise, have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever the case is for you guys. This is Marko Yamashita signing off. Peace.